Hey guys, I'm Evan. Welcome to Country View Acres. So today we're going to be repairing this 20 kilowatt generator. This is a PTO driven generator. It's actually powered by a tractor, and this is big enough that it will power our entire house. So it's a whole home generator, and then we're going to modify it so we can hold our welder on top of it, and then with all the leads and cords and everything you'd need, and it's going to be a portable welding rig as well, so that we can travel around our property and do welding where we don't have any power. So this is going to solve two problems today. So let's go ahead and start fixing this up. That's so much easier than wrestling it by hand. So this is a Harbor Freight tire changer, and instead of bolting it to the concrete floor, I've got it bolted to a pallet. And then I found that it still moves around quite a bit, so I just end up sliding it on the pallet forks of the tractor to help keep it from moving on me. And I think it's going to work out pretty good. You can see it helps to have this fairly secure. All right, there's the first side. I just broke it right off the pallet. Well, before I had lag screws in it, this time I'm going to put 1/2-inch bolts through it, and we'll give this a shot. Oh yeah, that worked out really well. I don't think I'm a big fan of this yellow-orange color. I think I'm going to repaint these. Both these tires had tubes in them that aren't any good. So the front of the generator is a gearbox, and this is full of oil, so we're just going to go ahead and change it. It's probably the same oil from when it was brand new. That actually looks fairly thin. I figured it'd be more of a gear oil. This feels more like a motor oil. You know, that may not even be a gearbox. That may be a chain in there. Definitely hadn't been off in a while. But it looks like I should be able to get it off here. Ah, there we go. So I cleaned up the rims and the sandblaster, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint these red, make them match. tell what color it's supposed to be. So this here is the hitch on the generator. Hopefully you can tell this thing is bent. I'm gonna take it into the hydraulic press, see if we can straighten this out. Well, that turned out better than I thought it was. I actually ended up getting this pretty straight. I mean, I got it really straight, really. You can hardly tell it was even bent. So that actually went way better than I thought it was going to, that's for sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of this stuff all cleaned up and see if I can get it painted, and then we'll continue on with this project. So it's been about 2 weeks now. I've got everything cleaned up and painted. So let's go ahead and put it back together. So I ended up buying some used tires off of Facebook Marketplace for 20 bucks. And then I bought a couple valve stems to put in them so that there's no tire tube in them anymore. I think the tire was 20 bucks, valve stems were 5. There we go. So I forgot to paint the lug nuts, so I just thought I'd do it right here on the trailer. So now I need to figure out how to flip this over and not scratch the paint up. And you may notice the paint, there's actually 2 different colors of red here. The wheels are a brighter red than everything else, and that's because I painted them first with the paint I had here in the garage, and then I went and I had to buy more. I had to buy a different brand. Both New Holland red, but they don't match. That's probably to be expected, being 2 different brands. But the rest of it is kind of a duller, more rusty colored red. So it is a little bit noticeable, but it's just a generator. Oh, I'm missing something here. There's the bolts. All right, the generator's all put back together. The only change I made to it is I changed the 50 amp plug. I made it a 4-pin plug, which is the same as what a generator would come with nowadays. And then I've got an extension cord so I can hook that up and power the house with it. So the next thing I need to do is figure out how I'm going to carry the welder on top of this. I need some way to hold it, to strap it down so that the welder doesn't fall off. Plus I need some way to hold extension cords, maybe some welding rods, anything that might be handy to keep with the generator. All right, so here's the bracket that I made up to hold the welder. There was already 2 bolts in the top of this. I don't know if they came that way or if somebody did that, but that's what I'm going to use to hold it down. So to fill in the bottom, I've just got a piece of plywood that's cut out to fit inside. And then the generator should fit perfectly on top. So to hold the welder in place, I welded a 5/8 nut on the side so that I could hook a strap into it. And then I have another nut welded to the inside over here. And then the plywood's cut out just enough for me to be able to hook the strap on. I'm going to go ahead and leave this strap with the welder. Cut it off. And on the back I made a cord wrap so that it could carry the welding leads. Well, I'd say I've got about 4 days of work in this so far over the last couple weeks, and I'm pretty happy with the way it has turned out so far. But now it's time to test it. So I'd like to try welding with it, and I'd like to try to power the house with it. Now the welder is a 3-pin plug, and I put a 4-pin plug on there so it could power up the house. So I've got an adapter here that goes from the 4-pin plug to a 3-pin welding plug. So anytime I use the welder, I'm going to have to use this adapter to plug it in. And I'll probably just leave this with the generator so that it's always with it. But let's go ahead and test this out. So the other thing I wanted to test out is whether it would run off the 24 horsepower tractor. This is a 20,000 watt generator. It actually requires 40 horsepower to be able to achieve the full 20,000 watts, which is 90 amps. We're never going to use that much. In fact, our receptacle is 50 amps, and I doubt we'll even use 50 amps. So I think we're going to need close to half of the power, like 10,000 watts. And if we can achieve 10,000 watts with this smaller tractor, it's going to make more sense because we'll end up burning less fuel in the process. Because when you run a generator like this, the tractor is run at full speed the whole time. So it makes sense to use the smallest tractor that you have that will do the job. We're running at 150 amps, which is the max this welder can stick weld. So this ought to be a good test. Well, that one there is my last one, best one of all of them. So when I first went to weld, it didn't work. I couldn't get it to produce an arc. It barely even made just a little bitty spark. I mean, I could not get it to work at all. So then that got me worried. So I started checking everything, And what surprised me is the voltage was actually really high. It was like, I'm thinking it was like close to 370 volts. I mean, really high. And the frequency was 75 hertz. And that just tells me that the tractor was spinning too fast. So I slowed the tractor down to 2200 RPMs, and that got us to about 64 hertz. Here in the United States, we need 60 hertz. So we're still a little high, but at that point in time, the voltage was about 250 volts, and everything started working. It started welding, and we were able to weld at the max setting for stick welding, 150 amps. And I ended up burning 2 sticks. Everything went fine. So it does work with stick welder, so that's a success. I think we learned a little bit more on how to run the tractor. I may have to slow the tractor down just a hair more. But now I think we're ready to go ahead and try to power up the house. So I was planning on trying to power up the solar power system that powers our entire house, but then I realized that I actually had to wait for the batteries to be drained, and I would basically have to turn off the solar panels. I would let it have to sit basically a whole day to drain the batteries before it would even request to have a generator hooked to it. So, because it's not going to need a generator until the batteries are dead. So I think that this video has probably ended up being long enough as it is. So I think we'll save running the house and running the solar power system off of this generator. We'll save that for another video. We know that it works, and the question is, when we start pulling that big of a load, will the small tractor do it, or will I have to use the big tractor? So like I said earlier, I spent like 4 or 5 days on this project over the last couple weeks, maybe even 3 weeks. I'm kind of losing track of this. I've spent a lot of time on this, cleaning it up, getting it painted, straightening everything out. And this was completely unnecessary. I didn't need to do any of this. All I needed to do was basically change out this 240 volt plug because it didn't match anything I had, and then make some way to have the welder hook up to it. But it was a neat little project to just be able to take everything apart, put it back together, and complete it. I have a problem with uncompleted projects. I think most of my projects around here get about 95% done. I get kind of tired of it, and I kind of walk away. And it was nice to actually go through this 100%. It's done. It almost looks brand new. And I think it's going to last for years to come. So definitely got a sense of accomplishment, you know, actually completing something. And it's going to do exactly what I want it to do. It's going to be my mobile welding rig. I'll be able to take it out here in the front field, start welding some fence braces together out of pipe, and start getting this fenced in. And I think you'll end up seeing it in other videos here in the future. But I think that's it for this video, guys. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.